Hi guys, I just wanted to jump on here and do a really quick little video today on how we use AI in our recruitment process to ensure that our hiring process is super intentional and we get really accurate matches for ourselves and for our clients. Obviously, the buzzword right now is AI. Like everyone's talking about it. Everybody, my parents over Sunday lunch are talking about it in quite a fearful way. But our clients in general, when we're talking about it, we're all pretty excited about how it is transforming the digital landscape. And, how I think for us, especially, it's how much more efficient and intentional it is making us in absolutely everything that we do. So, for full transparency, we use AI fairly heavily in our recruitment process, and it just allows us to sharpen our skills. Like it doesn't replace our skills or it doesn't replace the interpersonal aspect of what we do, but it allows us to really sharpen our thinking. It allows us to reject 99% of the candidates that we have headhunted so that we're able to pull in that 1%. That sounds really brutal, doesn't it? Like, oh, we reject 99% of candidates. When I say that, it's not because they're not necessarily great and they could be really good for a different role. It's because when we're recruiting, we're looking for the exact match. It's super important. I talk about it all of the time. We don't want to bring people in who are going to be there for a season. We want to bring people who are going to be in our businesses and in our clients' businesses forever, because the longer that you can be in someone's business for, the longer you can have your team in your business, the higher ROI you're going to get, the more value that they're going to add. This is assuming that they're a good fit, right? Not assuming that they're a dead weight that you need to kind of carry all of the way or all of that. This is assuming that they're an amazing fit. The longer that they're in your business, the more value that they're going to bring, the higher ROI that you're going to get. So we really want to focus on bringing those right people through, and AI allows us to find those people. So I guess to kind of touch on this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask our lovely marketing team if they wouldn't mind putting together after this video a little playbook, which is going to have all of the prompts. So when I refer to a prompt and I'm kind of not necessarily really specific on the prompt that I refer to, I'll give some examples of the prompts that we use throughout the process. But I'm also going to get in the show notes, like I'm on a podcast, in the notes underneath the YouTube video, I'm going to get a link to a prompt sheet put in so that you can actually get that prompt sheet, and you can, if you're using this in your own recruiting process, you can play around with some of these prompts and see how it helps you in finding that exact right person. But where this all starts, and where it always starts with recruiting, is in identifying exactly the outcome of the role, right? So I don't even want to say like who it is. And that's where we first start using AI in building the role. So the whole process is outcome driven. It's all about ownership. It's all about outcomes. And when we're interviewing, we're not doing it based on, our gut feel. We're doing it based on data and specific questions. Psychometrics, yes, absolutely. And I always talk about that. But we're also doing it now by using AI to help us identify things that we may have missed beforehand. And it's allowing us to interview in a completely different way. And it's allowing our matches to be more accurate than they've ever been before. Bear in mind that when we're placing, we're interviewing hundreds and hundreds of people every single week. We're interviewing for 10 to 15 roles that we place per week at the moment. So we've tried and tested this thoroughly over the last 6 months, which is why I feel really confident sharing it with you and what it is that we're doing and how it all works. So let's start at the very beginning. This is always the most important thing. We do a consultation call. So how this would work, say in your agency or in your business, is you really want to identify the role. So this takes a little bit of time. And some of the things that we talk about on that consultation call is we don't want to talk about the tasks that this person is going to do. Instead, we want to ask a whole series of questions. So actually, this is where you could initially use AI. You could put a prompt in. We don't, because we do this all day, every day. But you could put a prompt in to say, I need help in identifying what the outcome and the ownership is of this next hire, the outcome of a role of this next hire. So get AI to help you build it. When I say AI, I'm referring to Chat or Claude or Gemini. I don't think it makes a massive difference. And I know people go wild with that because everyone's going to have an argument for which one's best and all of that. We use Chat and Chat and Claude mainly. I haven't really delved into Gemini right now. I'm sure it's great, but it doesn't matter which one you use. You can put it in, and always ask it to act. So you are our senior recruiter, or you are the head of our HR team, or whatever it might be at the moment, and just explain your situation. So if you are the agency owner, you can say, at the moment, I am spending 75% of my time in service delivery. I'm spending 25% of my time doing business development. When I'm doing service delivery, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. This is the infrastructure of the rest of the business. Ideally, I would like to remove myself from service delivery. I would like to have X, Y, and Z. Don't give it the role, I need to hire someone that does this and this and this. Instead, almost run it as a consultant. So in our consultancy calls, what we would do is we would say, okay, so explain a little bit more about your business right now. All of the time we have Fathom running, right? So it's super important to say that. We have Fathom running in every call. Fathom is a meeting recorder. So I will be asking our clients, tell me a little bit more about your business right now to get a good understanding of the business. And then I really want to try and understand the problem. So I don't want this to be about tasks. I don't want it to be about we need someone in to do PPC or SEO. So I avoid asking any of those questions. Instead, I'm trying to understand what's stopping the business from growing right now. What's the single biggest challenge that you have in your business right now? 12 months from now, what needs to have happened for you to look back and go, that's been an amazing 12 months? So all of the time that I'm asking these questions, I'm asking them because I want Fathom to pick it up. Because when I put that Fathom recording into AI, so it will be Chat or Claude later, I'm going to prompt it with some specific questions so that I can make sure we're pulling the ideal outcome and ownership-driven role for that client to find that right person to put into their business. So I hope that makes sense. So when I'm asking these questions, I'm looking at the functionality of the role that we're going to build. And I also will ask questions like, let's say that we bring somebody in that solves this problem. What would good look like and what would great look like? Then when we finish the call, we've got a really good understanding of what the challenge is in this person's business. What's the problem? And then we've got a good understanding of how bringing the right person in is going to help solve it. But that's when I will run it through AI and I'll say prompts. And again, we're going to put these prompts in underneath this video so it's super clear, because I know that I bumble and kind of rant on a little bit, but the prompts are along the lines when I'm typing it in. They're along the lines of, based on the call with this business owner, and I'll always give context around the business owner. So I'll explain more context around the agency, what their current setup is, which is why if you're doing this without doing a consultation call, give as much information as you can. And say, right now, the founder is trapped in delivery, or right now they are finding that they are onboarding 3 clients a month, but they're losing 1 because the founder is spending a lot of time in delivery, so wants to spend more time in the looking at the churn or building relationships with clients or understanding the market better or whatever it might be. What is the outcome from everything that the client has just said on the call? What is the outcome of a role that they're looking for, and what is the ownership of a role? So we will then get AI to really clearly put together that role. We'll then obviously build out the relevant skills and experience and all of those things we will have discussed as well. But the most important thing that we're using AI for in this initial stage is to build the outcome and that ownership part. Then we're building the role, right? So we're running that prompt to build the role, which is immediately going to increase the chances of attracting the right person and rejecting the wrong person. If I write a job spec out, and if I put together a person spec or a job description, whatever, and it's all about skills, experience, tasks, what person am I going to attract? I'm going to attract someone who's task driven. If instead I'm putting it out and I'm really clear and say, the outcome of this role is X, Y, and Z, we expect this person to take ownership of A, B, and C. What type of person am I going to attract? If I'm using words like outcome, ownership, deliverables, reporting, whatever it might be, we're going to attract someone who wants that, right? We're going to attract someone who wants to develop their career as opposed to be micromanaged. We're going to attract someone who's okay to be held accountable. We're going to attract someone who wants to have visibility on the impact they're making in the business, as opposed to someone who wants to just be micromanaged and tick off tasks and click up all day. So very different types of people, and it's AI that's helping me get those prompts and get that out. It also, from the consultation point of view, and we use this again in the interviews, it allows me to stay really present in my conversation with the client, because I know that Fathom's picking everything up. So instead of me feeling like, oh, I need to remember this key detail, I've got that kind of support person right next to me who is picking up everything that's been said, which means I can listen to it. I can dig into areas and, oh, hang on, there's something a little bit, we haven't quite got to the real challenge that this particular agency owner is having right now. So I'm going to dig in a little bit more, not having to think about what they've said, because I know that's been picked up. And I know that I'm going to be able to run that through AI after the call to dig a little bit deeper in, or ask any specific questions, or get it to pull out any things that I might have missed in the call, or highlight any areas or anything that needs to be sharpened. Then we use it in the interview phase. So I'll explain how we use it in the initial interview, because then we just copy and paste that through the second interview and final interview as well. So we will run the Fathom call again through AI in the initial interview, ahead of the initial interview. And then we will explain to the AI the outcomes, the ownership, the type of person that we are looking for based on all of the information that we've already gathered and all the data that we've already recorded and gathered. And then we will say to AI, we'd like to build some questions around these outcomes, around the functionality of this role. Now, again, just to be really clear, when we're interviewing, we still need to make sure we're disqualifying people based on skills, experience. The psychometrics that we use and the basic questions that we use still remain there, but this allows us to take it a layer deeper. And again, guys, if you're not recruiters, don't forget, this is what we do all day, every day, right? But if you're not an expert level recruiter, this is even more valuable, because you may not know what situational questions to ask, what psychometric questions to ask. You may recruit once every 6 months or once every 3 months, probably not multiple times a day though, like we are. So you can really lean into AI here to ask the right questions in the interview. And where it's great is it will also suggest answers that you're looking for. So again, if you're looking for someone that's ownership and outcome driven, and they're asking in a task-based way, or they're sort of saying things, well, I would ask for help with this or ask for help for that, it's not ideal. You're not really looking for someone that asks for help on things that they don't know. We're looking for someone who uses their initiative, who uses AI themselves to get answers on things that they don't know, who creates processes, who creates systems, who creates SOPs, dashboards, whose experience means that they know that when this happens, they do this. So it varies depending on the type of person that you're looking to hire. We generally stay away from hiring junior or entry level roles. So I wouldn't really want someone who is looking to be kind of reactive. I'm always looking for someone who's going to be very proactive. But this, using AI, is going to help you look out for the right answers, and it'll even pull out red flag answers. So again, if you can give it that right picture and give it the right prompts, it's going to give you a very whole view of what you're looking for when you're interviewing. So once we've then done the interview, and again, by using AI, Fathom Recorder, and then the questions afterwards, it allows our interviewers to stay really present in the interviews. They don't need to be retaining any information. Obviously, there's an element as well, because of their experience, where they have that understanding. Is this person a good fit? But it allows them to be listening to their response, but also looking at things more closely, looking at their body language, looking at how they respond to things, looking at how focused they are, looking at how intentional the candidate is in the interview. All of these things which help us find that 1%, we're able to do because we can be present in the interview, because we know Fathom is recording it, and because we know that we're going to be able to then run it through AI system afterwards. We then use that same format in the second interviews and in the final interviews. We build out a scorecard as well. So we have a prompt that we can build, which I will put down below this video. So we have a prompt as well that we can use, where we're able to put a scorecard on candidates. So they need to have met a certain score to be able to pass through the different rounds. And we're super consistent. So from the very beginning of the consultation, with that role that we're looking to build and to fill for our clients, we're consistent through the interview phases. We use that initial role build out, and we put that in the top of every interview and post every interview to say, this is who we're looking for. Let's analyze this interview. Let's, based on this interview, plan the questions for the next interview. So like I say, it allows us to be really, really sharp and really, really intentional. And what's the goal of all of that? It allows us to eliminate the wrong people so that we can find the right people, and then give those right people the chance to show how they would take full ownership. Again, because our questions, they follow a format and they follow a template and a structure, but they're also really specific. They're specific to each interview that one person has had with us. So there's that consistency through the interview process. So we're giving them the opportunity to show us how they would take ownership of things. We're giving them the opportunity to show us how their experience has modeled the decisions that they would make in situations in the future, as opposed to just using a generic set of questions. We're really specific to their situation because we've been able to get really specific to their situation because of how we're using Fathom and all of the prompts in AI. It means that our hiring process is so sharp, it's so focused and intentional, it's not generic, which means our matches are so accurate. It allows us to set the position, build the role, and set the expectations from the role from the start with both our clients and our candidates, right? We want our clients to expect that the candidates that we present to them are going to be really outcome driven, really career driven, are going to be there making suggestions, adding value, bringing their ideas to the table, being independent, challenging them sometimes if they see something in their business that can be done better. And we set that expectation with the candidate from the start. We're able to say, this is the role that we've built out because this is what's going to make the impact in the client's business. How would you approach this? What would you take ownership of as far as these outcomes are concerned? And I'm just going to use those words, ownership and outcome, all of the time, because it's going to make sure that we're aligned with the client and with the candidate. It allows us to stay super present, like I touched on already in the interviews, where we're able to look at the way that the candidate's communicating, their body language, their visual cues, how engaged they are with us, as opposed to just trying to remember what it was that they were saying and think about what we need to say next. And finally, the main thing, and I've said this multiple times because it's so relevant, is it keeps the hiring process super intentional. Because of that, we're able to, in our own business and in our client's business, get super accurate matches. And not only are we able to get accurate matches at the front end, right, but we're able to bring people in who stay with our clients. Our retention rate is 97% over a 30-month period, which means 97% of the candidates that we place on day one are still with the same clients 30 months later. And that, if you imagine, the value just compounds so significantly month on month. So if you can get this hiring process right now and use these amazing tools that we now have access to, as I film this, it's 2026. So who knows, in a couple more months or years, the tools we're going to have access to, but the tools we have access to now, if you use them well and use them right, you can really, really help initially build out the actual role and then place the candidates by doing everything that I had just said. So guys, as always, if you have found this video useful and you have more specific questions around hiring, operational infrastructure, running a business and having a family at the same time, running a business with your husband, any questions that you have, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, drop questions over, drop any questions in the comments. I actually love making content and I love sharing my knowledge and my experience with you. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Have an amazing rest of your week and I'll catch up with you soon.